Okay, we're going to get started. But I actually do not want to introduce you guys because you know your lives better than I do. So let's do a quick introduction, and then I'll talk for a bit, and then I'll just start lobbing questions out to the three of you. So maybe, Paul, we'll start with you.
Sure. Hi, Paul Compton. I am the father of Tayson. Tayson suffers from a rare neurological disease that goes by the acronym of DRPLA. We are in the second year of the clinical trial, and as his parents, we see terrific progress that we are thrilled with. And during the day, I have worked in banking for the last 35 years.
I'm Stan.
That's it, Stan?
Yeah, I'm not going to say anymore.
Yeah, okay, Tom.
And I'm Tom Lowe. I'm grandpa to Sloan, who's got KIF1A, and she has started on her ASO program with n-Lorem 2 years ago, and has really started to kick into gear, so we're very excited.
So two things. You're also on the board of directors.
That's right.
For n-Lorem,
Yep.
and you are part of the KIF1A Foundation, or did you found that?
No. Luke Rosen founded
right.
that, and I just went to Luke to ask for help.
So you could to offer your help.
So I started off helping with the KIF1A Foundation.
Got it. Okay. So my name is Brady Huggett, and I'm a journalist, and what I do now basically is cover basic neuroscience for a publication called The Transmitter. But before that, I used to work at Nature Biotechnology and a place called BioWorld before that, and what they did often was looked at research, but technology transfer, venture capital, the way startups are formed, the way biotech companies move, the way drugs are eventually run through a pipeline and given to patients. And a lot of those things that happen in a biotech happen at n-Lorem. There is basic research being done. There is the crafting of an ASO or a therapy. It's finding its way to a patient. But the thing that doesn't happen at n-Lorem is there's no money coming out the other side. There's no revenue. And that is a key driver for drug discovery. I mean, Stan, you know this well from your time at ISIS/Ionis. I think you raised, I actually don't know, something like $2 billion, through venture capital, the stock markets, bonds, everything else. And without that incentive, it's very hard to get investment in. So what n-Lorem is trying to do, which is create drugs and give them away for free for life, is a unique challenge. And I think through the course of the morning, you've heard several people bring up, hey, how is this working? Like, where's the money coming from to do this? Is it falling from the sky? No, it's not falling from the sky. And it's kind of in my opinion as an observer, a pressing problem, because n-Lorem has grown quickly. When I talk to Stan, every year or so I talk to Stan, I say, how's it going? It's going great. What's happening? Well, the ASOs are working, we know that. Patients are benefiting, we know that. Well, what's your biggest challenge, Stan? It's finding the money to make this thing happen, because it's growing faster than I think even Stan thought, right?
Oh, by far.
Yeah, so the point of this panel today is to talk about this tension point between the need and the growth that's happening at n-Lorem with the need for money. And I think the first question I want to throw out there, I'm going to start with you, Stan, but then open it up overall, is what I just sort of laid out, but talk me through the unique challenge that is running n-Lorem without venture capital funding or money coming in.
Well, it's tough. Tomorrow when I close, I'll talk about the fact that we've overcome every impossible barrier, every technological, regulatory, systematic, organizational. It's all behind us. There's a single challenge that is separating us from treating thousands, and that's money. In the grand scheme of things, that should be pretty easy. I mean, compared to science, compared to, addressing how to do this, I mean, that should be fairly trivial, but, we've accepted now 200 patients, multiplied that by 1 million. That's the problem.
So in the old days, when you were running a company for profit, you would have gone about this by what? Going out to the public markets? You can't do that here. So what are you doing to bring the money in?
Well, I realized late in my career, I'm basically just a dream merchant, that I sell dreams.
Yeah.
And this is a dream that is very worthwhile. And so I sell the mission, and I knock on every door that's available to me, and you know, most of the time you get a no, but sometimes you get a yes, and sometimes you get a big yes. And, you know, it's not really any different from financing the dream of creating antisense technology, except I talk to different people about different things. But it's still the dream.
Yeah. This is a difficult question, and I'm just going to ask it. If that's the model of Stan going around using his panache and his salesmanship and knocking on doors, is that sustainable?
Yes, I think so. Would I have said that 6 years ago? I'm not sure. I mean, listen, the answer to doing anything that's never been done before is to take the first step. You cannot solve all the problems a priori. You take the first step, and then you go to the next, and then you solve the next problem, and then you solve the next problem. So where I look at us right now is we solved all the hard problems. Now we've got the easy problem, just raising money. And we have the track record of success behind us that should help us do it. So I think, you know, we're busy collateralizing our sources of income. That's what you do. That's how you finance a biotech company. You know, you don't raise $3 billion in one fell swoop. You raise money an inch at a time, and you broaden your base of where you get the money, and that's what we're doing. We're creating different opportunities for investment for people and different companies, and collateralizing the support that we have. And, you know, I feel, you know, I now know a little bit about nonprofits, and, you know, other than nonprofits started by multi-billionaires,
Yeah.
I think what we've done is amazing, and lays the foundation for the future. So, yeah, I'm reasonably confident we'll be able to do it. What I'm not confident of is, will we do it at the pace that I want to do it? I mean, we have thousands of patients that we can't help.
Yeah.
And we have patients that are waiting because we just don't have the resources, and we can't get to Europe, we can't get to Asia, we can't get to places where we know there are patients, just because we don't have the resources, and that's very hard to live with.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. If the science wasn't working, that's one thing, but the limiting step is money. It's a different thing. Yeah. Paul, so you're on the board.
Yep.
I'm assuming the board is talking about this with regularity.
Non-stop. It is far and away the greatest challenge we face as a board. And to Stan's point, there is just so much demand, and it's how do we keep up with that demand? How do we fund that demand? It's really quite an interesting intellectual challenge in that n-Lorem has an enormous store of value, intrinsic and tangible, in that whether it be the value of the underlying ASOs that have been developed, the team, the extraordinary team, their extraordinary network with regulators and with providers. And so we've had many, many discussions about how do we take that store of value and create streams of income to help fund the operations of n-Lorem. We've looked at everything from taking ASOs and working with big pharma companies to license those ASOs to them. We've looked at the possibility of taking the capabilities of n-Lorem and acting for third parties, developing ASOs for them, providing R&D to them, and Stan might talk about some of those transactions in a moment. We've even looked at putting ASOs in a basket and getting private banking clients to invest in that basket. Now, that doesn't mean to say we've done all those things, but we've certainly shook the tree and had a really good look at them all. I think what's most important of all is that we, as a board, constantly look to diversify the sources of income that we have with n-Lorem, whether it be some of the transactions that I just talked about, or of course philanthropy and the raising of funding from people who believe in the mission of n-Lorem. One of the challenges with just relying on these transactional opportunities is those institutions have their own governance and boards, they have their own budgetary cycles, they have their own financial constraints. So, you know, some of those opportunities take 6, 9, 12 months from original conversation to getting an agreement signed. And so we have to sort of find this diversified pool of income.
So but have you actually executed on any of those where you have done an out-licensing deal, a partnership deal with pharma that's brought revenue in? Stan, you're nodding, yeah.
No. Yeah, the average time to do one of those kinds of transactions is more than a year, really. But we began last year, and we've completed 4 transactions, and we have a number more that we think will get done before the end of the year, and those will generate not just dollars today, but opportunity for continuing revenues in the forms of milestones and royalties. So those are going to account for a meaningful fraction of the cash we need to raise. But I wouldn't just emphasize those. We've also had a really strong year in identifying new donors and getting charitable donations. And so, look, dollars are fungible. A dollar goes to help a patient, it helps a patient. So we try to make sure that we have all the sources of opportunity for cash in, and then we watch our pennies really, really carefully. We, you know, 88% of every dollar we get is spent on a patient.
Yeah.
And we don't have any frills. We don't have any frills of any sort.
Yeah. So we'll turn to donations in a second, but because I'm actually curious about this. If you're doing deals with pharma, you're licensing, maybe there's some sort of ASO package you put out that you get investing in. Does that change your status as a nonprofit? How does that work?
No, it doesn't. I set up very strict criteria. That any transaction we do has to be consistent with mission. It has to support treating more patients that need our approach, and any work that we do for a partner has to be paid in full beforehand, so that we don't take those funds from patients. And you know, then our ASOs and our knowledge, everybody wants to be in ASO land these days. Didn't used to be that way, folks. So just, you know, we sell our knowledge, which is substantial, and there's value in that. So, you know, you sell the dream, you sell bits and pieces of it, you sell yourself, you sell your knowledge, and I find a way.
And Brady, the other thing I'd say is, you know, the board has a transaction committee that looks at all of these opportunities. And one of the things that it is very attuned to is the question that you raised, and to make sure that we don't jeopardize our tax status at all. And there are some people on that committee who are deeply schooled in that science.
Accounting. Yeah.
But you know, I don't want to focus unduly on transactions with commercial entities. That's going to be a big source of income for us. But we're a nonprofit. Yeah. And you know, the money comes from donations. And we're looking at, the three of us have contributed a good bit of our dollars. You know, I don't ask anybody to do anything I don't do in spades. And so I trade on that too. Yeah.
So Tom, I want to bring you into this. So Stan, you're saying a fair amount of money. I'm assuming if you were doing a deal with a big pharma, that's going to be a big chunk of change. But donations are coming in, I think, through the foundations as well, like KIF1A, PAX1. No?
Some. Yeah. Some from patient organizations, a lot from individual patients and individual donors. So it's just a very big mix. And the broader that mix, the better for us.
Yeah. So Tom, take me through your experience with KIF1A. the foundation?
Incredible organization, incredible founder, incredible people working there. When I needed help, they were there. My response is, how can I help? They said, we need money.
Yeah.
I went out to try and raise money, and guess what? It's really, really hard raising a large amount of money for a small patient population. We got to a certain point, and Stan and n-Lorem and his organization and team was able to step up and help in a very big way with coming up with an ASO for the KIF1A community and focus on that. But the ability for KIF1A to raise money as a single disorder is just really a non-starter. So I got excited about, n-Lorem is coming up with solutions for a number of disorders. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a walk in the park. It didn't turn out to be that way when you're dealing with a number of disorders. They're all still rare disorders, and as Stan explained to me, there's a lot of good uses of capital, and at the end of the day, it's a competition. And that's where you really have to approach this from. Figuring out what your lane is, how you can help, and go down every path you can.
You're saying you go out to raise money and you say, hey, look, here's something called n-Lorem, here's what they're about, here's this foundation that I'm part of, the KIF1 Foundation, and we are going to help 3 kids. And then the door closes because they're like, well, I'm going to put my money where I'm able to help 100 kids or save the whales or whatever it is. That's the argument you're saying. That's why it's difficult.
Yeah. The problem is, well, when you're a startup, you can fund it. It's a relatively small amount of money in the scheme of things. You can fund it, privately, with not a tremendous amount of difficulty. It's still hard, but not a tremendous amount of difficulty. Once you get to the point of being at scale, you can fund it with more traditional mechanisms like insurance, and this is a classic case for insurance. But the difference between startup and being at scale when you're treating potentially enormous numbers of people, there's a big gap between there. And the question is, when you're a tweener, how do you fund that? And it's difficult, and it requires everybody's help.
But you have been able to do it, and you said you sort of pick your lane. So what's the lane that you're picking to sell?
Well, it's a very personal thing. You get diagnosed, and you're like, okay, how can I help? And it's truly dependent upon your circumstances and capabilities. And if you've got a lot of help in your family, and if you don't have a lot of help, you're limited to just taking care of your loved one.
Yeah.
If you have different circumstances and different capabilities, you can help in a bigger way. And I think that's part of what everybody needs to do, is figure out where they fit in, what their lane is. And I went through this. And, once you get over to the fundraising side, you've got to figure out where you can be most effective. I went down the path of trying to focus on trying to help n-Lorem, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just run in a different school than these guys,
Yeah.
And so figuring out, a different way for me to contribute, which was basically going back to work, worked out better for me.
Oh, you were in retirement.
I was in retirement.
Weren't you? You were on the podcast. Were you on Stan's podcast?
No.
No?
No.
I feel like I've heard this story before.
Effie's podcast.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Effie's podcast.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But figuring out how to make the biggest contribution that you can, I think, is what everybody's got to figure out on their own.
Yeah. So a big part of this working, I think, also, Stan, is the pharmaceutical companies that have helped. Alnylam, Biogen, the sponsors that were part of this colloquium too. And I mean, Biogen, these things, to be a drug maker, takes a lot of money. So why is it that they're able to or willing to help with this nonprofit?
I think I'm going to give you the same answer every time, the mission. people get into our industry because they care about patients. Don't ever doubt that, folks. I mean, that's why people come to the industry. And it oftentimes gets lost in the abstractions of business and science and all the stuff that you got to do. There are no abstractions here. It's black and white and tangible, this patient, that patient, that patient. And I think that attracts people. I think, Biogen has been a strong supporter since day one because they care about patients that need help. And it isn't hard, it isn't complex, it's really, really simple, and they have the money to help. And we have so many contract manufacturers, so many contract research organizations that have contributed so many dollars, not just in cash, but in discounts. And Cytiva's given us millions of dollars of free equipment. All of that matters and contributes. And so I don't think it's at all hard to understand. It's just these are good-hearted people who happen to be able to help with funds or free services or discounts here and there, who see suffering and want to see it alleviated. What more could you do with your money?
Yeah.
What better else?
Yeah.
Well, why not?
Yeah, and they also have an understanding of what ASOs are. I think that probably helps. I mean, Biogen, Alnylam, and they also know you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably a valuable part of it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, in the end, it's the dream that matters.
Yeah.
It's the mission, and so people contribute for the same reason over and over again. It is the right thing to do.
So let's say that so that you don't want to turn down any patient that you can help, and we know that that's only going to increase. So how would you get to a point where you're not so worried about the money? Like, what would need to happen? I don't know, Stan. Let's say that n-Lorem has. How is it structured now? Do you have a group that goes out and helps fundraise right now? No.
We don't have a group. We have 32 people.
What if you?
Amy and I go out and beg for money. That's what we do.
What if you hired 10 Amy's to go out and
Amy, answer the question.
If you hired 10 Amy's, or you could hire 10 Amy's to go out and beg for money, would that solve some of the problem, or no?
I think the first step was to deliver value.
Yeah.
Show that we've done that. We've done that. Collateralize the sources of income. We've done that. Broaden understanding of what we're accomplishing, and make everyone a part of the solution.
I think that's the really key point, right? I mean, instead of hiring, I think, a whole bunch of fundraisers, I think we really leverage the community and people who this is deeply personal to. And the thing I will say, whilst it's only Stan and Amy, when you get them in a room in front of a donor, like, they're incredible salespeople for the mission of n-Lorem. And I think we have great success with that. And I think persistency is of paramount importance. I mean, Stan and I have been talking to one guy for a year now. I think we've nearly got the fish in the boat. But it just, you've got to plug away. And I think the one thing that Stan and Amy also do an excellent job of is creating idiosyncratic opportunities for the individual. So what am I talking about? If they have a close nexus to a hospital or to a university, thinking about creative ways to raise funding through their philanthropic dollars attached to something that's important to them. And so at the end of the day, I just think it's about something that's deeply personal, finding those people in your network, getting the right people, i.e. Stan and Amy, in front of them to tell the story, and I think they have very good success with doing that. Now, it's never enough, and so we all need to keep pushing. And the one thing I would say is, as a community, we do need the help of absolutely every person in this room. Everybody has to own it, because it's not like the tooth fairy comes at night and sprinkles money around n-Lorem. Without that money, we can't operate. And so we all need to reach in our networks, find those people who can make a meaningful contribution, and be creative. Think about ways in which you can help open up the many channels. I think Sarah put a slide up today about all the different channels of communication. I just think we need as many helpers from the community as we can get.
And you know, it's interesting. Stan mentioned to prove value, and he skipped right on to the next thing, which is frustrating, with all due respect. The value that he creates and the team that he's put together is so understated and misunderstood, because right now the value is based on what they can do today and what they can do for the folks that they're trying to help now. You know, if you know, and sloppy math gets you in trouble, but let me just, if 25 or 30 million people suffer from rare disease and a significant portion can be helped with ASOs, and if they can develop an ASO for $1 million or $2 million, and the prevalence on average, and again, that gets you in trouble, is a couple or a few thousand people per disorder. I mean, do the math. I mean, it's hundreds of dollars, or it's a relatively small amount of money per patient to develop a drug, which when I first, found out about our diagnosis, I was told it takes 10 or 15 years and billions of dollars to develop for drug development. And the story that I think the community that can finance this stuff needs to understand is it's not just the value that's created today, but where this can go. And you need that level of funding to get beyond that tweener stage I was trying to describe earlier. And really highlighting that value, what the impact of this can truly be beyond doing N of ones. I mean, where this can go is unbelievable.
So it's not about blanketing the countryside. It's really targeted. It's finding the people that you can get this message to that will respond. That's what you're saying, Paul?
Well, I think that's where we have the greatest success and maybe the fastest success. I think Stan would say there's a lot of very good-hearted people out there who just want to sort of lean in and help. So I don't want to exclude that population by any stretch. But I do think where we can have the greatest impact quickly in terms of raising fund is often where there's a deeply personal connection.
Something I've been a little surprised about is that so many people seem to think somehow the money just is there. That, oh, well, n-Lorem will make it. It's not there. Every dollar that we have is the dollar that we've brought in. And as Paul said, I think it is the challenge of the community. And if we treat it as a challenge of the community, I'm very confident we'll succeed. I don't think I can do it personally.
Oh, God, no. I have one more question, but we have about 2 minutes left. Any questions from the audience? If so, come up to the mic. I can't see. No? All right, so this is my...
I think they're quiet because they're reaching in to get their wallet.
I hope so. I hope so. It's the sound of money coming out of wallets.
Where's the boot? Where's the boot? Here's the question.
Yes, sir.
Is it public, the breakdown of the different funding sources for n-Lorem, and also kind of if you're a patient family or a supporter, kind of what are the top priorities for us to support? Thank you.
I didn't hear.
He said, is it public, the breakdown of n-Lorem's funding, is that public?
I don't know. Is it public?
Let's ask Amy. Amy, how much do we disclose around
we
the sources of
everything.
On your
fundraising?
Yeah.
It's really simple. Today it's $1 million a life. And we've raised, I've lost track, maybe 80 million or 90 million in cash, and maybe another couple $100 million in free goods and in kind. And we've raised it from all sources, including the founders, myself and Roseanne and Ionis, and Biogen has been a continuing supporter, and lots of companies and lots of CROs and CMOs and other things. So it's just I mean, there's nothing secret about it.
Yeah.
Stan, is it fair to say, though, that when you get to scale, that cost comes down dramatically?
Yeah, I think we can get it down. Dramatically is a question, but every dollar matters. So I think at scale we'll be able to treat for life per patient, probably for $700,000.
But if you can use the same ASO for multiple patients,
it continues to come down. So I could imagine it getting down to $500,000 at some point, but that would require a lot of patients using the same ASO and so on. So I mean, it's never going to be free. It's never going to be like $1 a life. But my gosh, to save a life, treat a life for $1 million. If someone had told me that I could design a medicine for a patient and do that for $1 million 15 years ago, I'd have laughed at him. I mean, it's $1 billion. It's a minimum of $1 billion. We've already cut the price 1,000-fold.
Yeah.
Well, my goodness. Yes, we can get the cost down, but think of what we've done already.
I do have one more there. I think that's probably your last question.
Yeah, thank you. My name's Anthony. We have a son who has TUB4A. As a parent, when you find out about this disease, it's not quite as black and white as, just finding n-Lorem. It took us, a lot of research and talking to doctors and Facebook groups until we found n-Lorem. So when we talk about the community and how the community can impact, is there one gathering place or a place that you would point to when we talk about the community, that the community can make impact, that they gather, or you could see them gathering in a way that it's more of a combined effort versus a couple Facebook groups or different places on the internet? Is there one consolidated place that you would say the community is or would like to see them or point to?
Tom, that might be for you.
I'm having a hard time hearing. Do you mind repeating the question real quick?
Sure. Sorry, I could talk more into the mic. When you guys talk about the community, as a parent, it's quite difficult even for us to initially find n-Lorem. As the community grows, it's many places all over the internet. Where would you guys say is the one place the community you would like to see them gather or start to congregate more? Because right now it feels like when we talk about the community of leukodystrophies or people taking ASOs, they might be all over the internet. Is there one place that you could see them starting to gather, or you guys point to when you talk about the community at large?
I don't, well, Luke could probably speak to this better than I, but there are rare disease communities that are for more than one rare disorder. And I think that given the difficulty with each disorder trying to go it alone, those are increasingly important. Frankly, I view n-Lorem that way. They are a forum for a community of multiple potential disorders, and they're discovering which disorders they can help with now. They're in that process. So, my response would be start with n-Lorem and expand, from there.
I think if I understand your question, I would say in terms of the n-Lorem community, this is it. I mean, this colloquium is the gathering of, I think, all of the stakeholders of n-Lorem. So I think this is the community that's gathered here for the next 2 days. For individual diseases, some diseases are incredibly well organized and have foundations and have regular gatherings and have patient advocacy organizations. Others have next to nothing. I know when we found out that our son had DRPLA, there was was nothing. And so we sort of created a foundation and sort of started down the journey. So it really varies. There are rare disease symposiums that happen through another organization called Rare Genes, which you can tap into as well. But it really does vary by disease.
I've run us over by about 10 minutes. I apologize. Thanks to the panel, and we're going to move on to the next thing.